in the midst of this global crisis, the voices for justice are revealing what really matters. It is time for Planetary Makeover. Here we feature solutions and modern miracles in documentary videos that offer hope for our future and remind us all of our spiritual source. Long ago, it was forecast that at this time in history, extraordinary teachers, including the World Teacher, would emerge to help us as we build a world that works for everyone. Now, here's your host of Planetary Makeover, Mr. David Mynott.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another presentation of Planetary Makeover. For this show, we're doing a part 2. We are going to be treated to the music of Tony Townsend yet again. If you recall, not long ago, we did a show with his music, but there was too much great music to fit into 1 hour, or a portion of 1 hour. And so we're back again. And perhaps we'll have another show with him in the future. So we're dubbing this Stranger at the Gate 2. But I'm getting ahead of myself. As always, we would like you to consider treating all of this esoteric information with an open mind. And that is a challenge for all of us, yours truly included, but I think you're up for the challenge, and I hope I am too. What we're asking you to consider is that this present world of chaos can be transformed into a world of justice, love, synthesis, brotherhood, world peace, ecological restoration, and all the rest of it. And although that may seem a far-off dream at the present moment, we also remind you that to accomplish this goal, we have the help of an extraordinary kind of a group of enlightened and perfected human beings whose arrival has been predicted for thousands of years. The World Teacher and his group, the Masters of Wisdom. But before I mention that person's name, let me just mention how he has been referred to by some of the world's major religions. For the Jews, that would be the Messiah. For the Christians, the Christ. For the Hindus, it would be the Kalki Avatar. For the Muslims, it would be the Imam Mahdi. And for the Buddhists, it's Maitreya Buddha. They at least got the name right. Yes, it's Maitreya, but he is a spiritual teacher, not a religious figure per se, which means he's here for everyone. He loves everyone. He's not looking for followers, not here to start a new religion, doesn't even need you to believe in him, simply to consider his message. And if you find within it the ring of truth, then you can look into it further. And we'll all have that opportunity in a more visceral way soon. But in the meantime, what else can we say about him? Well, as I think I made a reference to, he loves everyone unconditionally, people of faith and people of no faith. And he represents the beginning of a new age, the age of Aquarius. We're just coming out of the age of Pisces. Now, these ages are not based on the astrological sign, but more the position of the Earth. The Earth had been oriented towards the constellation of Pisces for the last 2,000 years, and now it's moving in alignment with the constellation of Aquarius for the next approximately 2,150, or is it 2,500? I forget, years. In any event, it's a long time. And this will be the age that I described earlier. peace, love, justice, synthesis, and so many other wonderful things. And there have been many writings about the world teacher in vague terms in some sense for the last couple thousand years, but more specifically since 1875, starting with Madame Blavatsky and the Theosophical Society, then continuing on with Helena Roderick, Alice Bailey, and Benjamin Creme. Ben was our most recent sort of John the Baptist, and he told this story for over 40 years and only just passed away, or shifted consciousness, as we say, in the Ageless Wisdom teaching a few years ago in 2016. We say shifted consciousness in the Ageless Wisdom teaching, which is what all this material has been dubbed, because in that teaching, reincarnation is a fact. And this physical body is just a vehicle. And when it is discarded, the consciousness remains until we come back again. So yes, reincarnation is posited as a fact too. So now to return to the present and the subject of our show, Tony Townsend is, as I think I might have mentioned already, and I know I mentioned in the last show, he may be the only person on the planet that's actually put Maitreya's words to music, which, as I said, I think is a brilliant idea. One, because his words are so lyrical, and two, because of the wisdom and the love that they contain, which is a great combination with the art of music. And I can say, as an artist myself, and you can see some of my art behind me, I think art is the highest art form. And not just mine, but Benjamin Creme, who I mentioned, you can see behind me, there's one of his prints. And that one is literally called Meditation. One of these days we'll have a show just about Ben's artwork, which is simply amazing. But for now, I want to focus on Tony's artwork. And Tony's art, of course, is music. And this music that we're presenting is original, all of it. Only his lyrics have been lifted from Maitreya to share with all the world, and today to share with all of you. I hope you enjoyed as much as I have, as much as I do. And with that, I'll let Tony speak, play, and sing for himself.
On the 19th day in the month of July in 1977, the Son of Man walked among us again to help us change our earth into heaven. I look for the signs and I listen in the wind for the simple man who cares for us all. I look to myself, for I know he is within, and I listen for the sound of his call. He came in the clouds in a big jet plane to a well-known country of the earth. As a man among men, his life will emerge, sharing love and justice come to birth. I look for the signs and I listen in the wind for the simple man who cares for us all. I look to myself, for I know he is within, and I listen for the sound of his call. Sharing love and justice and the brotherhood of man are the truths he gives to us all. We are gods and the agents of his plan. It's our choice to rise or to fall. I look for the signs and I listen in the wind for the simple man who cares for us all. I look to myself for I know he is within, and I listen for the sound of his call. On the 19th day in the month of July in 1977, the Son of Man walked among us again to help us change our earth into heaven. I look for the signs and I listen in the wind for the simple man who cares for us all. I look to myself for I know he is within, and I listen for the sound of his call. My name is Tony Townsend, and I'm here to sing some songs to you, for you. Some of them come from The Stranger at the Gate. The Stranger at the Gate is the name of Maitreya, the world teacher. When I was growing up in Pasadena, California, I came upon some books which talked about the world teacher and talked about the spiritual hierarchy, the masters of wisdom. And being a teenager, this went by the wayside, and then years later, in midlife, I became very interested again by learning about the contents of the Alice Bailey books and about esotericism and the masters and the return of Maitreya. And when I discovered a book by Benjamin Creme, which indicated that this process of emerging into public life had already begun, I was quite taken and have been involved with it for some time. And one of the first things I did was to write some songs which used words which Maitreya had given through Benjamin Creme by a process of telepathic overshadowing during public lectures in London. And this is called By This Means. It's a way that we can know who Maitreya is. By this means will you know me. By this means will you know me. By my light which shines through you, awakening you to service and love. By this means will you know me. By this means will you know me. By my call for justice and reason. By my call for justice and reason. By this means shall you know me. By this means shall you know me. By my work among your brothers, those who need my help. My appeal shall sound forth, save the world, help those who suffer and die in need. my call shall resound, correct the mistakes of the past, and renew the spirit of man. Make way for love in your hearts and see God. Thus shall I speak, my friends, and thus will you know me. The return of the masters and of Maitreya have to do with the fact that humanity seems on a course of self-destruction always. And we got through World War II and we survived the confrontation between the two great three or whatever superpowers, but now we're facing another problem. In the movement of the despotic aspect in our own country. The main reason for the return, however, is to allow people to live normal, healthy, active lives so that they can discover and develop the godlike nature which lies within. And the very first thing we must do is learn to share the resources of the world, so the G7 countries don't hoard them all, so people who starve and die in their millions can have a decent life. And this is a song with words by Maitreya, Learn to Share. How can you be content with the molds within which you now live, when millions starve and die in squalor, when the rich parade their wealth before the poor, when each man is his neighbor's enemy, when no man trusts his brother? For how long must you live thus, my friends? For how long can you support this degradation? Learn to share, to grasp your brother's hand and know him as yourself. Take your brother's need as the measure for your action and solve the problems of the world. There is no other course. Learn to share. Throughout the world, there are men, women, and little children who have not even the essentials to stay alive. They crowd the cities of many of the poorest countries in the world. This crime fills me with shame. My brothers, how can you watch these people die before your eyes and call yourselves men? Learn to share, to grasp your brother's hand and know him as yourself. Take your brother's need as the measure for your action and solve the problems of the world. There is no other course. Learn to share. when men, women, and children die in misery, cast off by their brothers, are hungry and perish needlessly for want of the food which lies rotting in the storehouses of the world. Learn to share, to grasp your brother's hand and know him as yourself. Take your brother's need as the measure for your action and solve the problems of the world. There is no other course. Learn to share. Learn to share. Learn to share. People sometimes say, why share? I've worked hard, I've earned it. Why should I share? Sharing means to recognize the fact that human beings, men, women, and children, are one. We're part of one great family, facets of one great oversoul. And if one of us starves, it's affecting the whole family. So that's the reason we must share. It's to live as true brothers and sisters. This is an ancient mantra dating back even before written history, translated into English by Alice Bailey, the Master DK through Alice Bailey. It's called the Mantra of Unification, and it tells this story of the oneness of humanity. The sons of men are one, and I am one with them. The sons of men are one, and I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve and not exact due service. I seek to heal, not hurt. The sons of men are one, and I am one with them. The sons of men are one, and I am one with them. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life and all events, and bring to light the love that underlies the happenings of the time. The sons of men are one, and I am one with them. The sons of men are one, and I let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate, and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all men love. The sons of men are one, and I am one with them. The sons of men are one, and I am one with them, and I am one with them. The next step ahead for human beings, humanity, all of us everywhere, is to learn to live in right human relationship. And the start of that is to engage in goodwill. This is something that's innate in everybody, the sense of goodwill. We actually wish everyone well, but through fear and its attributes, hatred and greed and whatever, we cut people away, we cut ourselves off from this true nature within us, which is goodwill. And this is another mantra from the Master DK through Alice Bailey, which I've set to music again, and it's called simply goodwill. It leads to right human relations, and it leads to, finally, deity. Benjamin Creme is an artist and esotericist who lives in London, and it was he who told of the imminent emergence of Maitreya and the externalization of the hierarchy of masters. And he's written many books which have been translated into many languages, and he publishes a magazine called Share International, which keeps us up to date on what's happening during this emergence. And this is a poem of his from one of his books, Maitreya's Mission, Volume 3, which I've set to music. It's called Courtiers. It's Kings, Courts, and Courtiers. This is the courtiers part. As courtiers sit awaiting the entrance of the king, do we await you, Maitreya? As courtiers sit awaiting the entrance of the king, do we await you, Maitreya? Only some do not sit, but run hither and thither, telling the glad tidings. Some do not sit, but run hither and thither, telling the glad tidings. The great Lord, chief among chieftains, dismounts and approaches the gate. Open it quickly, that he be not delayed, that he be not delayed. Chief among chieftains dismounts and approaches the gate. Open it quickly, that he be not delayed, that he be not delayed. The great Lord, chief among chieftains, dismounts and approaches the gate. Open it quickly, that he be not delayed, that he be not delayed, that he be not delayed. In the not too distant future, we'll see Maitreya on television in an interview here in this country and elsewhere. And then gradually, he will be recognized as the high spiritual being which he is, and he will be invited to speak on the linked television networks of the world via satellite. We'll see his face, we'll hear his words, but we'll hear them inwardly in our own language, no matter where we are, on the land, the farms, in the cities, on the ocean, in the air. Wherever human beings are, they'll hear Maitreya speak, telling his story, who he is, and what he hopes we will do. And it will be like a homecoming. Fields of grass touched with gold.
This video was brought to you by planetarymakeover.org. Well, I hope you enjoyed Tony's melodious tones. I know I did. And before we discuss it further, let me mention a couple other things that we focus on, and that would be transmission meditation and something that you heard Tony mention, Share International Magazine, and I've got a copy of it right here. I'm not sure if the June issue has come out yet because I haven't received it, but this is the May issue. It's an amazing, amazing magazine. No advertising, always a message from the master. All of these now are from years past, the messages that is. But the articles are very salient and up to date and couldn't be more germane in our world today. And Tony, too, had mentioned that Maitreya will be soon appearing on television. Well, that was shot some years ago because Maitreya did his first interview in 2010. And since then, he's probably done over 150 worldwide. He started in the US and went around the globe. So you may well have already seen him. You didn't have to wait for Declaration Day. Personally, I may have seen him too, but I didn't recognize him as Maitreya. But I will leave that to you. You see a man on television talking about an equitable sharing of the world's resources to end poverty and war. That could be a hint. And as time goes on, it'd probably get easier to spot, especially if you study this information too. So, as I said, I don't think anyone else has done what Tony has done, except perhaps before recorded time in another civilization, which has been lost to time, and hopefully someday will be recovered. And so that's why his music is so important for us today, because it's heralding the greatest event, we think, in the history of mankind. And like a lot of us, and a lot of you, I'm sure, esoteric information may have come to you at an early age as a teenager, but with all the stresses and strains and distractions of life, it may have gotten put by the wayside and picked up again as an adult. And as you heard, that's what happened with Tony. And he got involved in what we call the emergence work with Share International, whose magazine I just held up, so that he could participate directly in more than one way in educating humanity about the emergence of Maitreya. And as you heard, he mentioned what I mentioned, Alice Bailey, and then reading Benjamin Creme, and then he got to meet and work with Ben. And luckily for us, Tony was one of the first here in the States, in the United States, to pick up on this phenomena and get involved and work with Ben and work with other people who had similar interests, who became members of Share International. And I was thinking about, too, some of the lyrics that Tony had chosen from Maitreya's messages, such as, of course, the theme, I am the one who knocks, I am the one who will not go away. That's from the stranger at the gates comments made in one of Ben's messages, and just wanted to show that to you. Here we've got it on CD. I'll talk about this again before the show is over, and you can get it at share-ecart.com, share-ecart.com, and read about it too at shareinternational.us. And I think I have two here, the book that contained the messages that inspired his lyrics. I got too many books here. Here we go. Here it is in print form. And then years later, even after the taping of the performance by Tony, which you just saw, we have part 2. All these are available where I had mentioned the URL I had mentioned, which I will mention again before we finish. And I'll show you some more books by Ben. It's interesting, too, that Tony mentioned why Maitreya came out at this time. Originally, long ago, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago in some cases, it was predicted that he would not come back to the everyday world for quite some time, in some cases thousands of years from now. So why is he here now? What speeded up the timeline? As Tony mentioned, World War II and the invention of the atomic bomb, the nuclear bomb, later the hydrogen bomb, which imperiled all of mankind. If it hadn't been used, or hadn't been threatened to be used again later, and created in huge stockpiles of nuclear weapons, it wouldn't have been a problem. But mankind now, as we all know, has the capability to destroy himself and all life on the planet. And this cannot be allowed to happen. And that is why Maitreya came forth, as Tony mentioned. Tony also mentioned something very important: right human relationships, which is part of what the masters teach. Brotherhood, which begins with goodwill and has been, as Tony mentioned, distorted by mankind over the centuries. Think of the message we got 2,000 years ago, excuse me, from, I get choked up just thinking about it, the Master Jesus, as he is known today. Jesus, as he was simply known in his own time and thought of by Christians as Jesus the Christ. That message of universal brotherhood we received, we were bestowed upon the earth and humanity 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago. And we still can't get it right. I mean, talk about slow learners. I can see a couple hundred years, several generations before it starts to sink in. But it's been 2,000 years, and we're still not really living the precepts that he set forth at that time in an extraordinary message. And that's another reason why Maitreya is back at this time, to reinforce that notion, and notions put forth not only by Jesus, but of course by Krishna, by Buddha, by Muhammad, and so many others. And now, with Maitreya back in the world, again in a sense, since he overshadowed these figures in the past, we have another chance to get it right, to establish the world that those teachers posited for us so long ago. Also, he had mentioned, Tony did, a poem by Ben, and I'd forgotten that Ben had written poetry, and it was in Maitreya's Mission, Volume 3. I've got that here somewhere, but I don't have it right in front of me. But you did see it on the screen during Tony's video. And it just goes to show I need to go back and read Maitreya's Mission, Volume 3 again. And that was a beautiful poem that he made a wonderful song out of. A message that we could all take to heart. And he also mentioned, as I said, Maitreya's first television interview, which has already happened, and which you might have already seen. But there was something that Tony mentioned that has not happened yet, as we all know, and that is Maitreya's first appearance on worldwide television in a simulcast for all of humanity, known as the Day of Declaration. And on that day, Maitreya will address all of humanity. You won't have to be in front of a television set for that. You will hear him in your own mind, in your own native language, and you'll see him on the screen at the same time, but his lips won't move. It'll be a telepathic communication with all of humanity, where he will overshadow all of humanity, and we will experience it at a soul level. This is something that has never happened in the whole history of mankind and will never be repeated. So, as I think they said in the Bible somewhere, that he will come like a thief in the night. So sleep not. Stay awake, stay alert, and study this material. And that'll sharpen your own intuition and give you greater insight into these incredible happenings and what you can do to assist. One of the things we'd like to mention, as I did briefly before, more than once, is transmission meditation. That was given to humanity by the Masters of Wisdom to Benjamin Creme in 1974, some 47 years ago, at the time of this show being recorded anyway. And it's something that I've been doing for the better part of 20 years. And it's a form of energetic stepping down. The masters who we've been talking about are the custodians of great energies that stream into the planet from extraplanetary and cosmic sources. Now, it's of such a high vibration that it would bounce off of the mass of humanity. I don't know about you, but I know it would have bounced off of me. And when you're doing transmission meditation, you're stepping down these energies like a transformer. You know, the energy in the telephone wires outside your house are at too high an energy rate, voltage, to be brought directly into the house. So the transformer steps down that energy so that your household can use it without all the fuses being blown. In the same way, these energies, high vibrational energies, are stepped down during transmission meditation and then distributed throughout the world. Now, we don't distribute them. The masters do that part. They have the wisdom to know when and where and what type of energy should go in what location and to whom. But when you do transmission meditation, you're sort of, to put it poetically, you're adding to the pool of spiritual energy from which all of creation drinks. You're helping all the kingdoms, the mineral, the plant, the animal, and the human kingdom. And this energy coming to us courtesy of the next kingdom, the kingdom of souls, where the masters reside, and where we too one day will reside as masters of wisdom, as perfected human beings. And there have been healings that have been known to occur during transmission meditation. It's not the reason per se for the meditation, but it has happened to people who are doing it. And meditation done properly can even affect the neighborhood, even been known to help lower the crime rates in neighborhoods where it's regularly practiced. Everybody benefits from this beneficent energy. And it's something you can do for the rest of this life and lifetimes going into the future. This is one of the ways you can get involved. And you can find this information at transmissionmeditation.org. Very simple. transmissionmeditation.org. And in regards to the rest of the information that I've been discussing, which we call in a larger context the Ageless Wisdom Teaching, you can find out more about that at share-international.us. And the books that I was talking about, I'm going to show those to you again, you can get at share-ecart.com. Of course, messages from Maitreya, and the volume 2. And here's a great one, The Esoteric Art of Benjamin Creme. Did I say he was an artist? I think I neglected to mention that. An artist, an esotericist, an author, an amazing man. Another of his books, Unity in Diversity. And a fascinating one, The Gathering of the Forces of Light, UFOs and Their Spiritual Missions. I highly recommend this. The World Teacher for All Humanity, The Awakening of Humanity, The Great Approach, which I'm currently listening to on Audible, and you can too. In fact, several of these books are on Audible right now, and you can listen to them online, narrated by Jessica Webster. And of course, also from share-ecart.com, on CD, Messages from Maitreya. You can hear Ben reciting them as he's overshadowed by Maitreya. Another one from that site, The Overcoming of Fear, the talk by Ben. The Emergence of Maitreya, the World Teacher, yet another recorded talk of Ben's. And Ben also talking about what I've been going on about at length, transmission meditation. All these are available at share-ecart.com, and I highly recommend them. As I said, this type of information is meant to stimulate the mind as well as the intuition. And in this way, you can come to your own understanding, because all of this information and more is not clouded by doctrine, or dogma, guilt, shame, or fear. It's all according to your own free will, how you wish to interpret it and take it with you. And that I would invite you to do. And that concludes this show. We'll see you again soon. And we hope you've enjoyed Tony Townsend's music as much as I have and have derived much inspiration from it. Thank you, and we'll see you soon. Visit us on Facebook at #Planetary Makeover. This show has been a production of planetarymakeover.org. At our website, we have a link to our bi-weekly live show at 5 p.m. Mondays, Western Time, and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. At our website, we also have a link to our archives and a selection of our shows. For more background info, visit www.shareinternational-west.org. That's shareinternational-west.org. For related books and DVDs and CDs by Benjamin Creme on the emergence of Maitreya, the World Teacher, please go to share-ecart.com. That's share-ecart.com.